Peter Pan is a timeless classic that has been retold countless times on the stage, film, and television. In 1990, one of these iterations was the Fox Kids animated series Peter Pan and the Pirates. Starring the great Tim Curry as the voice of Captain Hook, Peter Pan and the Pirates had a 65-episode run and numerous years on syndication. Clearly banking on the show to be a huge hit, developer Equilibrium and publisher THQ rushed out a side-scroller for the NES that would mark the first time Peter Pan would hit consoles in a game titled Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates: The Revenge of Captain Hook. Released in January of 1991, you play as Pan himself as he attempts to rid Neverland of Captain Hook and his pirates. You traverse swamps, forest, and pirate ships, clearing each stage of pirates, collecting points, health, and fairy dust to fly. Pan is armed with his trusty sword, and he can also find the occasional cannonball to knock out enemies from afar. Movie and TV show tie-ins for video games tend to get a bad rap, and The Revenge of Captain Hook embodies that. There is not a single thing about this game that is good. Even calling aspects of it mediocre would be too much of a compliment. This was a rush job from start to finish. Graphically, it's a muddy mess. Colors are dull and lifeless. For whatever reason, they decided to use as much brown and black as possible. For a popular children's character, it just doesn't work. And Hook himself is just a brown blob with barely enough definition for a face. The stages are pretty plain. There are a few obstacles and jumps that can provide a challenge, but overall pretty basic stuff, expected for a kid's title. What is not expected, though, is that nearly half of the levels repeat themselves. Sure, they slap on a new paint job on the backgrounds, but repeating levels for the sake of extending the game is just pure laziness. Finally, the controls. You can walk, jump, attack, and fly, but it all feels slippery. They map the ability to fly by pressing up on the control pad, which I personally found frustrating. There were plenty of times that Pan would just start randomly flying because I apparently had pressed up, often putting me in situations I didn't want to be in. The sword's reach is also way too short, forcing you to get up close and personal with enemies to register a hit. It all works, but there is no polish to it, which leads to annoying deaths. For the first video game of a classic literary character, Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates: The Revenge of Captain Hook is a giant piece of shovelware. There's nothing memorable about this game outside perhaps having one of the longest names on the NES. This is must-skip nostalgia.